why do webinars work? If I can get you to listen to me for an hour straight and listen to my proposal, let me give you content, I've earned the right to pitch you.
Welcome back to the Talking Web Marketing podcast with myself, Ilana Wexler. This is a show where we reveal the best tips, tricks, and tactics to increasing your website traffic and then converting that traffic into leads and sales. We also discuss what's working right now in the ever-changing world of web marketing so you can apply it to your business. Welcome to today's episode of Talking Web Marketing. I have a very special guest today of the name of Charles Kirkland. Welcome to the show, Charles.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. How are you?
Doing good. I'm above ground, which is a good day.
That's a win in my book.
Absolutely. So I first of all, thank you for inviting me on the podcast. And if your listeners are Australian, they're going to be like, what kind of accent does he have?
I am wondering that.
And if you're American, it's like she's got to see, by the way, everybody with a non-American accent is like way smarter. It's just, the fact of life. We grew up, if you were English, you were Australian, or Indian, you were like the smartest person in the room because obviously they're a lot smarter than us. So that is just one of those things. So it's a Southern accent.
So here's the thing, Charles. You're the one with the accent, not me.
Well, see, it's interesting. Yeah, it's weird because I always tell people, why do y'all talk so funny? Everybody should have like my accent. And everybody I know, they go, nope, not in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly. So whereabouts are you?
We're actually out of Charleston, South Carolina. And for those of you that don't know, it's been voted like the politest city in America for like a gazillion years. It's like one of the number one destination spots. It's like a super cool place. Just imagine if everything was still 300 years old. That's what it looks like. Buildings are old, cobblestone streets. It's very historic. It's a cool place to be.
It does sound it. So you are the owner of Kirkland Media Group. And
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, basically, well, let me give you a little bit of my background. That will kind of lead into this wacky story. So
I love wacky stories.
Believe me, this is it's wacky. So go to school, get a degree because everybody says you got to go to college and get a degree or else you'll be homeless, living in a box, and your parents will be taking care of you or living in your mom's basement. So go to school, get a degree, get carpal tunnel 3 years out of college with an engineering degree. And if you can't use a computer, most engineering jobs are just high-paid sweatshops, except I wasn't really getting paid that much. It was just still a sweatshop. So started selling plans on how to build barns online. And the first month made...
Did you say?
Yeah, barns and sheds. So my concept is nobody's got enough storage. Everybody needs a barn. Everybody needs a shed because that's just where we live. And the first month, it didn't make anything. And people that I knew were like, you're dumb, you're an idiot, you quit your job, you had an engineering degree, you had a cool job, now you're, an idiot.
Can I just interrupt you for 1 sec?
Yeah.
How were you promoting that?
Oh, I just put up a website, and you put up a website, and they come. That's what I read. So this is 1999, and it's like, got my website, and for whatever reason, the people didn't come. So the second month, I discovered something. It was an SEO tool. It's defunct now, so I no need to even mention it. But it allows you to create like thousands and thousands of what we would call doorway pages, which really are fancy words for saying I spam the ever-living daylights out of Google, Alta Vista, Hotbot, Northern Light, search engines that don't even exist anymore. And the second month made about back in the day.
Back in the cowboy days.
Absolutely. So made about $10,000 that second month.
Wow.
And so it's been a wild ride since then. That's kind of the story of it.
So you started with barns, and then
Yes.
Where did you move on to?
So Google banned me, and from an SEO standpoint, those things just didn't work for that long. So got into PPC, and in 2010 became one of the top 100 affiliates at ClickBank.
Wow.
So at the peak, we were. If I told you the numbers, they wouldn't even be believable. Let's just say I've sold a whole lot of digital downloads. So the next year became ClickBank's top client with my digital products, became one of ClickBank's top vendors. And from there, we started the Media Buyer Association to help people learn how to buy media without, getting scammed. Because let's face it, there's a lot of stuff online. We've all seen it, push 2 buttons and get a gazillion clicks, and it's only $14.95 with a countdown timer. And if you don't buy today with a giant orange button, it's going up to $22.95. So
terrible.
Yeah, oh gosh, I've had conversations with people. They go, well, why should I pay you? I can get the same service online for $49 on Elance. Yeah, good. Yeah, find somebody to manage everything you're doing for $49 a month. Let me know how that works out. Please call me in 30 days.
I'll be talking to you soon.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, that sounds like quite a journey for you.
We've had ups and we've had downs, but I think that's part of the business cycle, which as entrepreneurs, we're never told this. It's like, the day you start, you're going to be the next eBay, ClickBank, PayPal, whatever. Truth of the matter is it's going to be a roller coaster. And depending on where you talk to somebody, is where they're at on that roller coaster.
That's right. And I think it's also really important just to enjoy the journey, because it is a journey, and just like you've got to enjoy the journey. Otherwise the destination won't be worth it.
Exactly. So that's kind of the 2 cents on Charles.
I like it. So today we are going to be talking about how you have used webinars, in fact, you said before we hit record, you've recorded about 2,000 webinars. Is that right?
Yeah, we're over 2,000 live webinars. We were at a point of doing 5 of them a day.
Wow.
And the reality of that is it does take its toll. I will tell you that from like my ability to speak for long lengths of time. I used to be able to speak, I'd be drinking water, I'd be woofing down, cough. I mean, you're not meant to speak all day. But the reality of it is I got smarter. After it didn't take me too long to realize that I needed to automate those webinars. So literally we've gone to everything automated now. We don't really do any live except for Q&A, Q&A like me and you talking. But we've done just a massive amount of webinars. We've tested everything that we could find to test, because the reality of it is, let's just say you don't know me from Adam's House Cat. You've never seen me. You've never heard of me. You're on Facebook or you're on Google. You're somewhere. You see a banner. You see a newsfeed ad. You see a search ad. Doesn't make a difference. You don't know me. And in today's environment, we're saying, hey, you don't know me. I'm probably not a scam artist, but you don't really know me. Would you please read this 47-page sales letter with a countdown timer at the top that basically says in the next 30 seconds, if you don't buy, your cats are going to get kidnapped. Would you please give me money? That doesn't quite work the way it used to. We're now in an environment where we inherently don't even trust people. Why do webinars work? If I can get you to listen to me for an hour straight and listen to my proposal, let me give you content, I've earned the right to pitch you. And I don't mean it as negative as it may sound, but if you've seen the content, you've seen the argument, you've listened to me, when I'm asking you to buy my product, it's going to be very easy for you to say, I trust Charles. We just spent an hour together. He made a very logically laid out argument on why his service, offer, product, XYZ is what I need right now.
Yeah. And
that's really the thing. If you were to look at a TV show, they go, 7 minutes commercial, 7 minutes commercial. Let's just talk about, I'm going to just pull a movie, Pirates of the Caribbean. Great movie, love the series. But at the end of the day, I'm getting antsy sitting here for 2 hours watching a movie, an hour and a half. And it's an action movie with people I like and something I think is kind of cool. So when we're asking people to sit down and give me an hour of your time, we have to respect it. But if they will listen to me for an hour, we've got visual slides. We can have live video of head video, things of that nature. We make an argument and we're saying, we're now together on this. We have a common enemy. We're going to be doing this together. Please give me your money. It's a much easier sell than please read the 48-page sales letter with countdown timer.
Yes, I understand. So big picture, I'm a bit of a visual person. Big picture, how do you use webinars? In what, obviously a sales tool, but
lead generation. And that's kind of an interesting concept. The reality of it is, if I come out and say, please watch this webinar, you're like, I don't have an hour. Charles, I just don't have an hour. If I had an hour, I'd be in a bubble bath. I would be sleeping. My kids are at school and I'm getting some shut eye. That's what most people say. And I would say the same thing because Lord knows I'm propped up on caffeine. But this is what we do. We typically bring people to a page where it's like, hey, we're going to give you a free download. So for us, that download would be, here's a free PDF on how to do targeting in Facebook. So anybody who's using Facebook ads, that at least is piquing their interest. They may be a pro at this and they may not want it. That's great. They may be a beginner. We're gearing that particular lead magnet to only attract people who are using Facebook and Facebook ads.
So you're filtering them on the front end. You're sort of weeding out the people who aren't even using Facebook ads yet. You're targeting it to people who are currently using, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And
exactly.
that PDF is, how long is it approximately? It's pretty short or long?
4 pages.
Okay. So consumed very quickly. Page,
absolutely. So this is what we do with, we'll run that on Facebook. And the key is because of the type of if you're not running Facebook ads, but you're in marketing, you're probably not going to click it. I mean, it's, if you're not running ads, you don't really care about targeting. If you've run ads and you have not made money, man, targeting is a big deal. I mean, targeting, it's just, it's, oh my gosh. So what happens, we make the promise. They opt in on the thank you page. We don't give them the download for a number of reasons. We do eventually give them the download, but not on the thank you page.
Interesting.
On the download page, we have a video. It's like going back to video, face-to-face video. Hey, this is Charles. I'm excited to have you. Check your email in 10 or 15 minutes. You don't say check your email now because they will leave and not do my next desired action. And we're really looking at compliance. So they've done one action, which is they've opted in. The video says, hey, you know what? I've got a special webinar. I think you'd enjoy it. Click the link, watch the webinar. There's another link here to join the Facebook group. We put a ton of content in it. I think you'll enjoy it as well. And check your email in 10 or 15 minutes. And, if you don't see it, make sure you come back and reply, let me know, because you know how it is, send an email even to people who are your buddies and your mom. It may not get through the spam filter. So basically, we're just saying, because if the email doesn't show up, Charles is immediately just a lying sack of, he's a spammer and needs to be, they burn your house down and run you out of town with pitchforks. Truthfully,
South Carolina style.
Exactly. It's bad juju in my neighborhood. So we have to look at it. We have to assure them that it's coming. We can't tell them to check the email now because it's squirrel. I mean, I don't know about you, but I go in the email box and it's like everybody wants me to do something for them. So we don't want to distract them. I also want to look at multiple ways to communicate to a prospect. They opted in on Facebook, so they can click a link and join a Facebook group. Not a problem. We also tell them to sign up for the webinar special presentation. They click the link on the page, which will immediately take them to a auto webinar registration page. Now, this is the thing that we find interesting. It's compliance. You've already taken a small step, so maybe the next step with Charles isn't going to be so bad. He's an attractive guy. I gave him my phone number. He called and wanted a date. All he wants to do is go get coffee. That's what the webinar is. The webinar is let's go get coffee and see, if we're even compatible enough to take this to the next step. So they immediately click on the page and the webinar starts every 15 minutes. And the reason for that is an hour on internet time is like an eternity.
Totally.
I mean, it's just, for all I know, Bob could be out looking at porn tomorrow. He could be looking at cat videos. He's watching a music video on YouTube. He is not concerned about Charles. But if it's happening every 15 minutes, and when you opt into the webinar, I got a video where I'm going to talk for like 7, I'm pretty much guaranteeing that, you're going to be here for the webinar starting. So you opt in. It's a video right before the webinar. Hey, this is Charles. I'm excited to have you. Let me just teach you something right before the webinar starts, and we're going to have a great time together. The whole goal in that is to get them, it's a full video, body shot, at least get them to my presentation style, because they may say, this guy's an idiot. I would never watch him. Who does he think he is? So if we're turning people off on that video, they're obviously not watching the webinar, which is fine with me. It's not a big deal. But if I can engage with you on the, that pre-roll video, man, Charles is pretty cool. He's kind of funny. I like him. He would be a cool guy to hang out with. They're more inclined to watch my webinar. Now, before we go into the webinar, let's sidetrack over to the email. Why come I don't give you the PDF on the download page? Well, you'd open the PDF, you look at the PDF, you're never going to do anything with the PDF, but you're going to at least look at it, and I'll decide later after I read the PDF, because we know every PDF you download needs to be printed, read, and highlighted in triplicates right here, right now, this moment. Because of that, it's the squirrel thing. It's like, yeah, the webinar started. Oh, look at this. Oh, Charles said I should go. Next thing you know, they're in the Facebook ads playing with targeting, not watching Charles. And if I send you an email and you don't open that email, it's actually ding against me.
Yep.
So let's just say that I send you an email, you don't open it. Google's, man, Charles must have the crappiest emails. Nobody's even opening his email. But if I force you to open that first email, I am saying, Google, look, I am important. Bob opened my email. Therefore, I get a very high open rate on that first email. And that leads to higher open rates because you're just taking one more compliance action. We're just asking for small steps of compliance. And that's going to actually, when you watch the entire webinar, during the webinar, I'm often saying, does this make sense to you? Do you follow this? Would you say this is a great idea? We're asking that through the entire webinar because as long as you're in compliance saying yes, 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 it's easier to get to you to say yes to buying from you. So let's just say that we're talking on a webinar. Let's say I'm on the webinar and you're listening to me. And if I say, do you have kids? And is your morning as hectic as mine? Because trying to get my kids out the door with a dog and breakfast and getting up late and getting the kids to school and everything else, it's hectic. If you would say yes, that's true, that's right.
I would
if I
say
said,
yes.
yes, and then if I said, you just don't have enough energy to make it through your day and you're tired and you're propped up on caffeine and coffee, if you agreed, you'd say yes. And I can get you saying yes. But if I said, do you wake up to a nice quiet morning and the little birds fly in your room and it's like Cinderella, they grab the sheets and they make them and, you're having a cup of coffee waiting for you and your husband's sitting there with a robe that he just put in the dryer to make sure it's nice and warm and you got your favorite slippers. I can't relate to that. This guy's idiot. I'm leaving. Because if you say no to one thing, you're more inclined to say no to everything after that.
Interesting.
So our thing is, I need you to say yes, 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 yes. Then when it gets to the point of me making a logical argument on why you should buy the product, you've already agreed. It's kind of like a great book is called Psychology, Influence, the Power of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. And his comment, and this is really should be just basic reading for everybody because it's unbelievably powerful. They were doing a study, and if they could get somebody to say yes one time, they would say yes after that. But if you said no the first time, you would just continually say no, 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 no.
That's interesting.
So we use a lot of psychology in that webinar, and we use a lot of visual images. So if I said, what car do you drive?
What are you asking me?
Yeah, what car do you drive?
I drive a Toyota.
Okay. What kind? What model Toyota?
It's a real family people mover, one of the big ones, because I have three children.
Cool. Okay. Now, I don't know the name brand, but you know what I'm thinking? Big SUV or a van. It's big. It's probably, if it looks like my car, kids have crumbs in the back seat.
Exactly.
My kids can get a milkshake in like a steel titanium cup and somehow magically have it on the windshield, the front seat, DVD player.
It's putrid.
Exactly. I have pulled food out of more places than you would ever imagine. You go to the super vacuum and it's like, they're like, don't come back to the car wash because you burn up the motor in the super vac trying to clean your car.
Exactly.
That's me.
Totally.
But as I'm using images, we're describing this. Everybody on this call can envision what we're talking about. But if I said, yeah, it's a little car. Well, what kind of car? A little Honda. What kind of little Honda? A little Honda Civic. What color? Gray. We use a lot of images that represent the end product, what our prospect wants. So when we're talking about driving home the pain of struggling and not having this and not having that, we're using images to drive that home. And we're also using text. So I'm reading it, you're hearing it, you're visually seeing it, and there's an image that goes along with that description. So people get it from multiple modalities. Now, this is the cool thing. So we do the webinar, we close on the webinar, and you either buy or don't. Really, there's only two options, to buy or don't.
So you have an offer in the webinar.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say $9.97 or 6 payments of $197. Now, personally, I want the $9.97. I really do want the $9.97. I'll also take 6 payments of $97. 6 payments of $197. I'm not complaining about that. But what we do in these offers, we make the offers to the point where they're pretty much, the bonuses are literally as important as the offer. So like what we do is like, hey, we'll give you an agency site when you buy product XYZ. limited to the first 10 people. Well, truthfully, if you were to go get a site design, I don't know, $100,000, $1,000, $10,000 doesn't really make a difference. The biggest stumbling blocks that you would have in the offer are what our bonuses are about. So if you were starting a marketing agency, well, I don't have a website. Hey, we're going to give you a website. Well, I don't have SOPs and I don't know how to do this. Well, let me give you all my SOPs. Well, I don't have a way to predictably get clients. Hey, I can do that. We got cold email. Well, literally, the bonuses answer the objections that you would have in the webinar. So at the end of the webinar, it's like, well, all my problems are cured if I buy the product. But let's just say you don't buy the product. Let's just say that for right now, I do the webinar and you're like, he's an idiot. Close the webinar, you're gone. 15 minutes after the webinar, you get an email. Hey, this is Charles. Really enjoyed having you on the webinar. Thank you for watching the entire webinar. Here's a replay link. You go to the replay link, and then the video has like YouTube. It's like controls. You can like scrub the video, watch what you want because you watched all of it. There's no surprises. There's nothing hidden here. But what happens if you bail 10 minutes into the webinar? Man, the kids are screaming, the dog's barking, and the dog's chewing the kid's homework. Oh gosh, little Johnny, what did he do today? Well, you don't know the offer. You haven't even seen it. So we'll send you a link that goes, hey, notice you left early. We know busy. Click here to watch, the replay. But the replay has zero controls. Because otherwise, you grab it and you go to scrub. He wants $1,000. Who does he think he is? And you leave and forget about it. You hadn't seen the offer. I mean, we could be like, and we're going to give you the keys to a brand new Lamborghini, and it's only $1,000. But people inherently want to know the price first. And if I can't, okay, let's say we're walking onto the car lot and you go, I want that car. And they go, it's $100,000. Well, I don't want that much. But, the justification is self-cleaning and it's never going down in value and it's got a warranty for life and it's all electric and, doesn't pollute the environment and you're saving little kittens. Well, that's a justification for why it's $100,000. But if you just hear $100,000, no, I'll take the other one beside it. The blue one, $50,000. The reality of it is we need you to consume the content. I need you in compliance saying yes, 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 yes. So when you see the offer, well, it's not that big of a deal. So that's kind of how that works. You're pushing people in compliance because you need them to say yes.
I understand.
And
so you're segmenting for the people who don't make it through the webinar versus the people who do.
Exactly. So if you see 100% of the webinar, you see a different message than if you left before the pitch. If you left during my story of, hey, this is Charles, this is my struggle, you would see a different video. The reality of it is we give people different mode. So we have different videos for different things. Now, the reality of it is if you're like me and you debate how to, do I trade work for sleep, for time, for kid? How am I getting sleep? How am I cooking dinner? How am I going to get work done? How do I be the dad? How do I be how do I be everything my family needs me? You're getting pulled in a million directions. So if you said, Charles, sit down on a Sunday afternoon and just give me an hour and a half of your time, if I had an hour and a half on Sunday, I'd be asleep. But because of that, we give people the webinar also as audio. We strip out the audio using Camtasia, and you can do it with any other product. And we give people, hey, listen to this audio replay. By the way, here's a worksheet, which is a transcript of the webinar, because some people are audio. Some people won't hear it. Some people will scan the PDF. Some people will listen to all of it. The reality of it is, by giving people different modalities, they consume it in different ways.
I understand. And your offer on the webinar, I'm assuming that expires.
Yes. If you don't give people, and I used to see this stuff now, man, this is bull crap. Expiring webinars. Who did idiot think I am? You see this on Facebook every day, blah, blah, blah. If you don't have a deadline, you will put it off till the cows come home. Mm-hmm. It's just human nature. I mean, it's like, okay, which project do you work on today? Which one is due today? Which one has got the most people screaming today? Because that's just how it is. If we don't have deadlines, we will put it off. Apply for college. I'll do it next year. Apply for college, 3 weeks from now. Okay, let me get my stuff together. Without the deadlines, people will not buy.
So how long is that deadline?
We give them 7 days because we have the replay one day. We give them an audio and video transcript the next day. We start giving more like bonus 1, bonus 2, bonus 3, bonus 4, and then we remove all the bonuses either by today. We give them the bonuses no matter what. But literally, it's like, on day 7, it's like, hey, this is a 48 day 5, 48-hour countdown begins. Countdown, 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 bye, bye, bye. So that's going to be, just like my phone ringing here. From that standpoint, if there's no deadline, there's no deadline, you might as well just have done this as a public service message because nobody's going to buy.
I understand. And how do you manage those deadlines? Is it like, do you use deadline funnels or something like that?
Yes, absolutely, which is an amazing product, by the way. Let me give a huge shout out to Jack Bourne. Deadline funnels rocks. It's worth it. I don't even know what they charge for anymore because it's that important. Deadline funnels creates a unique personal deadline for everyone who registers for the webinar. So if you register today, your deadline is 7 days today. If you register 3 weeks now, you still get 7 days past that as your registration deadline. It makes all without deadline funnels, it's just you have to have deadline funnels.
Yeah.
There's just no ifs or buts.
And just a question. So there's an automated webinar. What about if someone's got a question on the webinar?
This is the kind of interesting thing. If they have a question, we have a little box. Hey, ask your questions. We'll respond back to them and just get a conversation going. Is there somebody mad that it's not? I mean, yeah, we always get people. It's not live. Who do you think you are? Look, there's no way I could do a live webinar every 15 minutes. And the people who are complaining like that, or if they're complaining they haven't given you money yet, there's just no way you want them as a client. If you can't even make them happy before they've even done anything for you, like the good Lord, I won't say what I was about to say, but let's just say you don't need them as a client.
Yes. Wow. This is really very interesting. So if someone has a question, then how do you answer their question if you're not live?
It'll just come into the replay as a email. Actually, send me an email. I can reply back to them directly. A lot of people end up hiring, once they've got these webinars automated, they'll hire VAs in the Philippines to just answer the questions. They're VAs that just companies that actually man webinars 24 hours a day, and that's what they do.
Wow.
And 90% of the questions you get will pretty much be the same questions. And you use those questions in your follow-up emails because for a fact, 10 people keep asking, yep, will this work if I am left-handed with blonde hair, 5'3", and I live in Anaheim, California, next to Disney World? You get those kind of questions. And when you start getting enough of them, then that becomes your email. Like we have an FAQ email. Like, hey, will this work if I'm just getting started? Probably not. Will this work if I do X, Y, Z? That becomes email.
Yeah. So say I'm listening to this episode and I'm getting really excited. What would you say is some kind of absolute fundamental, essential equipment I need to do this?
Okay. A couple things to look at. Let's just say you want to do it live. I'm going to just say if you do it live, you can use GoToWebinar. GoToWebinar does live and it does replays now. So yes, it's in beta, but you can do replays. So that's really, really cool.
Yep.
So that's one way to do it. You can use something called EverWebinar. Works amazingly well. It creates the landing pages. Their default landing pages suck. I'm just going to be blunt about it. Their default landing pages do not convert all that well, but they work. It integrates with everything, and it's an amazing product. You can use that, and it's like $497 a year.
Yep.
There is another product called Stealth, which they have the best support on the planet. They actually don't want. Yes. Yeah, actually, they don't want you to set the webinar. If you tell them what you want, they'll set it all up for you. The guys have just amazing support. The problem is if you've got somebody like me, I'm the guy who's taking a screwdriver to it every other day going, how can we tweak this? And having to go through somebody's support department to tweak it, even though you could tweak it, I don't, I like it a lot. People love it. I know guys who make millions a year with it. I just want to be able to tweak it myself. Just fundamental Charles issue. So Stealth Webinar. There's another one called Easy Webinar. Me and Charles used that. Your friend, mutual friend Charles.
Yes.
We used it, broke on us, but I think we may have used it wrong. So I hear other people having great results with it. So
Webinar Ninja as well is another one, I believe.
I've never used that one. I've used Stealth, EverWebinar, and Easy Webinar. Those are three that I personally have had experience with. Truthfully, all three of them rock. If you're not technical, just go to Stealth and just say, set this thing up for me. They do it.
Okay.
If you're like me, very technical, and you want to tie in APIs and everything else, go EverWebinar. Easy Webinar is like the easiest webinar you could ever imagine. Literally, it's like a couple screens and you've got a live replay. The key that you want to look for is it has to integrate with your email autoresponder. So from that standpoint, Like I want to be able to tag people. Did you show up? Did you leave early? Did you not show up at all? I want to be able to tag those people and give them a different user experience.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, we're really in a scenario where there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all scenario. I don't believe it. You don't believe it. When was the last time you got a one-size-fit-all anything that worked? Truthfully, for most of us, it's just not happening.
I like
just
to say one size fits no one.
Exactly. So that's kind of the thing that you want to look at. Because of that, each one is slightly different. And you want to make sure it integrates with your autoresponder to be able to segment out A, B, C, D. The next thing you want to look at is where do you host your replay pages? Deadline Funnel integrates with all three of those products, I believe. And that's where you get those automated, email day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. When you click on the replay, Deadline Funnel basically injects a countdown timer on the page based on when you opted in for the webinar. And that's very, very important because at the end of the day, when you're looking at from a standpoint of how are you generating those leads, you want to make sure that they feel like it's special to them. Because if you say, hey, here's, it closing Tuesday, you better make sure it closes Tuesday. And you can use Facebook segmentation to say, okay, Bob opted in for the webinar. Do not ever show Bob this webinar again. What we do is if let's say Bob goes 7 days, he misses the webinar, he comes back, he clicks the link, goes, hey, missed the webinar. Well, here's the sign-up page. So Bob joins the waiting list. 2 weeks later, hey, Bob, we're going to open this up over the weekend. Would you like to buy it? There are 12 seats. Bob's going to buy it. And at the end of the day, I've kept my word. I've been completely legit. And we've opened the webinar, 2 weeks after he missed his date for him to come buy it.
Interesting. So we need some kind of webinar software that integrates with an existing autoresponder, that whatever you have, and deadline funnels.
Yep.
You say those are kind of the three essential ingredients.
Exactly. And I can tell you, Stealth Webinar actually has like a built-in deadline thing. I think Webinar may have a built-in deadline, but none of them work as good as Deadline Funnels. Deadline Funnels is it's like $37 will give you one evergreen webinar. And it depends on how you do it. I know they're all kind of workarounds the way people hack these things together. So many different ways to do it. But at the end of the day, just, it's maybe easy just to go to Upwork and say, hey, this is what I got. Put it together, end of story, done deal.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the easiest thing to do.
So can you give us an idea of what kind of results you've got and sort of results that people could expect if they get all their ducks lined up and do this kind of very sophisticated marketing that you're doing?
Okay. Let's just say that we get 100 people who sign up for our webinar. Let's just use that as 100 people. In general, you can typically close people say between 10%, but I have never closed 10% on a webinar. If you're doing a webinar where it's not hypey and, you're not trying to like scam people and stuff like that, you can expect between 4 to 7% close rate.
Right.
So we get 100 people on the webinar. I expect that the minimum for you to go through that sequence, out of that, I'm going to get between 4 to 7 buyers for every 100 people who sign up for the webinar. Those numbers vary. I mean, that's just kind of a number. But like if we were to do a live webinar tonight, I could expect to close probably about 7%. But webinars that are replays, we know it's a replay. We don't quite have the chat feature. There are a lot of little things that don't convert as well in replays, but it's completely automated and I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, nice.
And at the end of the day, it's all about, you delivering a personalized experience to a client.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, segmentation these days.
Exactly.
Well, that sounds very, very interesting, Charles. You've definitely got my brain ticking over, and hopefully some of our listeners are getting excited about the endless opportunities that this world of online marketing can deliver. I'm very mindful of your time, and so you've been really, really generous with your time. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I guess just the last kind of question is, what would you say is like the number one thing if you could recommend that people do within their business? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think I kind of know what your answer would be to help them sort of generate leads and sales with webinars.
I think at the end of the day, to make sure your offer is really good, because most people focus on the technical aspect of like API integration or whatever. The reality of it is if your offer is good and you've got a great presentation, it's not hard to create great presentations, believe me. there's a book called Gary Spence. It's called Arguing to Win. He was like the number one trial attorney in America. Like, I don't know, this guy's a legend.
What was the name of the book?
I think it's Argue to Win.
Argue to Win, right.
By Gary Spence. And that may not be the right title, but if you just Gary Spence, you'll see it. And the interesting concept was, as a trial attorney, he never asked a question he didn't really know the answer to. So literally, they would script out the questions to lead to the verdict of the dude's guilty. So when we're laying out the arguments for our webinars, we follow that same stuff. It's like, what do you need to believe about my product for you to say yes to? That's the big thing. What do you need to believe to say yes to?
Interesting. And obviously, the success of it hinges on you having an offer that they're interested in, which is fundamental. Exactly. So like if you're selling to agencies, like, hey, here's SOP documents on, how you can save time, scale your agency, and do less work. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. People would buy that. There's value in that.
Exactly. But if you were to say, hey, here's a article on 10 ways to save $10 a week on groceries, it wouldn't even remotely strike your interest.
Yeah. Interesting. Charles, thank you so much for coming on our show. I feel like I could talk with you endlessly, but as I said, I'm mindful of your very precious time, so I don't want to take up any more of it. Thank you. Just lastly, for our listeners, where can people find out more about you and sort of your services that you offer?
Yeah, you can head over to mediabuyerassociation.com, and you'll immediately get mauled with a pop-up where I'm going to try to give you free content. And when you opt in, I'm going to try to sell you on a membership, because you know what? I'd be a horrible marketer if I didn't do that. But seriously, head over there, opt in. We've got a lot of content. I mean, we give out content. We do tons of podcasts, tons of videos, tons of tutorials. And our big theory is the more we give, the more we get back. So that's my take on it.
I like it. Thank you again, and lovely talking to you as always.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to that episode with Charles Kirkland. I certainly enjoyed having a chat to him as well. If you want more information about this particular episode, just go to talkingwebmarketing.com and you can navigate to that particular episode and download the transcription there. And we'll talk to you soon. You have been listening to the Talking Web Marketing Podcast. For more information or resources on today's episode, head on over to talkingwebmarketing.com.